Hi guys, I'm Vitale, and today I'm bringing you a really highly requested side dish of creamed corn. Now, I didn't know that this dish was so popular and so many of you wanted to see it, and I want to share with you my version because it's really simple, really easy, completely adaptable to whether or not you like what I put in it or not, and it's just easy and a staple in the summertime, especially with some Jersey fresh corn, because it is really delicious. So the ingredients you'll need are few and basics. You'll need some fresh corn, and I do think fresh is the way to go in this recipe. I'll show you sort of how I cut it in just a minute. Then I have some onions and bacon. I've got a little bit of flour, and here I have a mixture of heavy cream and whole milk. You'll need some salt and pepper, and you'll also need just a little bit of butter at the end. So it's very simple. I always make my creamed corn in a cast iron skillet, just like I make my cornbread. For some reason, I just think it tastes so much better. Don't ask. Before I get going on cutting the last piece of the corn, the kernels off the corn cob, I want to get my onions and my bacon sauteing. Now, by all means, if I put them both together at the same time, and I don't have any fat because the bacon is going to render a lot of its own fat. So get those two mixed together and let that go. Now, I know that some people do their creamed corn with no onions and no bacon and just cream, corn, milk, and butter and salt and pepper. I think corn can be so sweet. I really love the little bit of smokiness from the bacon. If you don't want to use bacon and just use onions, just use onions. And if you don't want to use either one, don't use either one. Just saute your corn in a little bit of butter. So this is what I do when I want to cut the kernels off the cob. I use a bundt pan, okay? Pretty much everyone has one of these in their house. Cut the bottom off and just stick it right in there and hold itself up. And then you take a sharp knife and you cut it right down. And you want to make sure that you cut off, you cut off as close as possible to the cob because you don't want to waste any. Now, normally you shouldn't get a mess everywhere, but you know what it's like when you're showing it to people. It makes a liar out of you. I'm just going to continue to cut the corn off the cob. It's really simple and really easy. And then what I do is I just take the back of the knife, and you see that's called the milk. That's flavor galore. So I like to just scrape that down with the back of the knife and put that right in the bowl as well. That's looking exactly how I want it. It's been about 4 minutes, so now I'm going to add in all of my corn kernels. I love this trick. I tell you, it is awesome. So awesome. Give this all a good stir. You want to make sure that the corn is well coated in that bacon fat, or those bacony juices, I suppose you could call them. I'm going to take just a little bit of flour, about a tablespoon, and I am going to just sprinkle that over the corn and give it a stir, cooking it for about a minute. What that's going to do is as everything cooks together for a while, it's going to thicken up the juices with the sauce, I suppose, and make everything sort of velvety and creamy, and just help keep the texture really nicely. That's good enough. I'm going to add it in my mixture now. Give that a good stir, and now I want you to cook this on low for about 25 minutes or so, or until the corn is tender. You can take it further if you wanted to, if you want your corn to completely fall apart and be super creamy. I think 20-25 minutes is probably going to be enough for me. That's what I prefer. I prefer my corn to still have a slight crunch to it. And I'm not going to season this until we're done cooking it because I want to judge how much salt is in there from the bacon. So I'm going to let this go, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's there. My creamed corn has been cooking for about 30 minutes on medium-low. I just turned the heat up a little bit because I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. Now, a couple tablespoons of butter might seem like a lot, but of course, if you have ever had creamed corn before, then you know it's not exactly the lightest dish in the world, but it is so rich that you really only need to eat a little bit of it. Like for this, we would easily get enough for 6 servings as a side dish, just because it is so rich and you don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to give this a good stir and wait for my butter to melt completely. Now, I have adjusted the seasoning according to my taste. I seasoned it and I felt like I needed a little salt and pepper, which I've added. And now I'm just going to stir it in the butter until it's completely melted, and we'll be done. That's looking great. I'm just going to turn this off because that is done. Oh, this is so good. I've already tasted it for seasoning, but this is going to taste 10 times better with that butter in it. Just going to wait for this to kind of get a little cold because it's hot. Ooh. There's just Joe and I for dinner, so I'm going back in for seconds. That is spot on. That's how I like my creamed corn. I love for my corn to be fresh and still have a slight of a bite to it. I don't like it to be too mushy. I love the bacon. I love the slight saltiness and smokiness, but you can completely leave it out if you don't want to have bacon. Just have the onions. Or if you don't want to have onions, just saute your corn in a little bit of butter and you will be in business. Let me know how you like your creamed corn. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and the recipe will be on MarianaKitchen.com, of course. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.